Hello, true believers. Welcome to my channel, Mr. Miracle Comics. My name is Dave, and today I have 5 more undervalued comic books for us to take a look at. All right, so most of these are from the Bronze Age. There's a Silver Age book in here, and you know, always trying to find those books that are way under the radar, trying to get there. If that's the beginning of a rumor, or that I think a rumor that I think has has some sort of viability to it, or just projecting what could end up being, right? So with that being said, fans of my channels will know how I work these comics. I always try to find comic books that nobody else is talking about, although there's always some crossovers between other channels that do this kind of speculation stuff too. um, but I always try and find some unique books for us to take a look at, and cheap books. I don't speculate on huge books, because yes, Daredevil #1 is still undervalued in my opinion, but it's still going to cost you a couple $1,000 for a good copy of that slab book, right? So we don't. I'm not interested in that. We're more interested in the books that are, haven't realized any sort of value yet, undervalued. All right. So first book on our list. It comes from 1968. It's our only book today on the list from the 60s. It is the first Kazar solo story, and it is Marvel Superheroes Presents number 19. All right. So, Mr. Kevin Feige has spoken about Kazar a couple of times, and Sauron, and the Savage Land. And now there's rumors that there's going to be some sort of Savage Land tie-in with some of the Disney properties that are coming out, some of the Marvel Comics properties. So I'm looking at different Savage Land titles, and you can't have the Savage Land without having Kazar show up. So I think his first solo book, his first solo story, is a good pick. Again, this book, nobody buys this book. I've seen this book sit on LCS's wall for months and months and months, at like almost giving it away at $15-20. So I paid $10 for this one. It's definitely not a mint condition copy. But it's a very fine copy. It's in decent shape. There's no splits at the side and that sort of things. Square bound books, always check for those side splits, right? They split up that side real easily. Also always checking, see that we're not crushed down at the bottom, right? Having that bottom quarter-inch of that square bound comic crushed, and that comes from putting it in an improper bag, which this one is in an improper bag. I definitely should change it out of here, because you can see that it is being crushed a little bit at the bottom. So I'm going to take it out of here. I'm going to put it in, generally what I'll do is I'll put it in a Golden Age bag. A Silver Age square bound comic in a Golden Age bag gives it that little extra bit of room, so it's not crushing down at the bottom, right? Because these bags taper, but of course our square bound book doesn't taper. It's okay for a regular comic, because the regular comic's not thick enough to get tapered down at the bottom. But these square bound books, you got to watch that. You got to watch for those splits. Anyway, first appearance of our first solo story for Kazar. Good chance that we're going to see some sort of Savage Land tie-in in some sort of Disney property, whether that's a streaming show or some kind of an appearance in a movie. I would more tend towards something to do with the streaming service. And again, we have heard Mr. Feige talk about Kazar, and Kazar is one of his favorite characters that he's always said, and he's in charge. So if he wants to put his favorite character in the MCU, he can. All right, so that is Marvel Superheroes number 19 from 1968. Look to pay somewhere in the $5 to $20 range for this book. Again, flying way under the radar. Number 20, which I believe is the first solo Doctor Doom story, is going for quite a bit more than this. But yeah, this is the first solo Kazar story. Lots of firsts in Marvel Superheroes Presents. I think the whole comic series in general has definitely been undervalued. Not enough attention paid to that series. Okay, so keeping with the Savage Land and with the Kazar and everything like that, so for our number 2 book, it comes from 1970. Well, where am I at? All right, from 1970. And it is Astonishing Tales #1, featuring Kazar and Doctor Doom. All right, so this book I like it as a pick because one, we just talked about Kazar, right? So this is Kazar's second solo story, very early appearance of Kazar. First book of his own, sort of, right? I guess Astonishing Tales isn't really his book, though he did show up. Um, but both of these characters, Kazar and Doctor Doom, are both, going to show up in the MCU from like all the rumors that I've been seeing and little hints and here and there. So I think number one, a comic book that has appearance of both those characters, both are hot characters, can really sort of see an appreciation. And being a number one issue right in the middle of the Bronze Age, which is highly collectible. It is a Marvel 15 center, which there are much less Marvel 15 centers than there are DC 15 centers. There's quite a few. They publish quite a few less 15-cent issues. So with all of those kind of things, and what did I pay? I paid $20 for this book. It's in very fine condition. It's got a few spine ticks and such, but not a bad buy at $20. I figured. Look, like if you're trying to buy mint condition ones, look to pay more around 60 to 80 raw for this book. Even at that price, I think it's a decent book to put into your collection, and it's a cool book. I mean, how many books do you get with Kazar and Doctor Doom, right? Like, man, that's such a weird combination, but such a cool one too. All right, it also has the added bonus of Craven in here fighting with Kazar, so those two kind of match up, right? Anyway, so number 2 on our list from 1970. And it is Astonishing Tales, number 1. And like I said, I paid, I'll look to pay somewhere around $20 to $60 for a decent raw copy of this book. Okay? All right. Now, so let's get out of Kazar. Let's get away from Kazar for a bit. And we will talk about our next book on the list, which also comes from 1970. And it is The Avengers, number 80. All right, another 15 center. Other side. Another 15 center from Marvel. And this is the first appearance of a character called Red Wolf, right? The coming of Red Wolf. And there's Red Wolf right there. Red Wolf was kind of cool. He's a Native American guy who has superpowers like heightened senses, heightened strength. He can lift about 3 tons. He can run really fast. He's got an indomitable will. Like, you can't make him do anything he doesn't want to do. He's quite a cool character. And again, we're looking for, characters that might make an appearance in a Disney property. And Red Wolf being a very diverse character, very cool character. He's been in the Marvel Universe for a while. He's been in different adventures and such. He's got a cool wolf that he cruises around with that ends up being a Skrull in one storyline, Secret Invasion storyline. So I think Red Wolf is a really cool character and has a lot of potential to show up in a Disney property, in a Marvel property, right? So again, Marvel has always said they want to bring in more diversity, more of that kind of stuff. Bringing in a Native American character would be really cool. Especially if it's Red Wolf, because Red Wolf is particularly cool when you're thinking about that. Prices for this book are all over the place. I've seen people on eBay asking less than $20 for, mid-grade copies of this book, all the way up to people asking a couple $100 for mint copies raw. Don't pay a couple $100 for this book. It's not there in any way yet. Even in mint condition, like maybe slabbed, 9.8, I'd be looking at that kind of price, but no. Raw books, $20-$30 is, probably in a nice good range where you're going to get a very fine copy of this book. I paid $20 for this one, plus the eBay shipping. I did buy this one off eBay. So, like I said, I think Red Wolf making an appearance in a Disney show would be cool, and fits in well with their whole idea of being more diverse and more inclusive in their properties. So, from 1970, Avengers number 80, first appearance of Red Wolf. There he is up at the top. You gotta love Red Wolf. All right, and again, 15 center. Sweet. All right, so Up to number 4 on the list. Whoa, what just happened? I can tell you what just happened. Pick number 4, no bueno. Did not like pick number 4. I made a big mistake in it. Glad I kind of re-looked at that video before I published it. So I'm going to edit that one out and edit this book in instead. And my pick is from 1974, and it is The Amazing Spider-Man number 135. This book is the second appearance of the Punisher. Okay, so we've seen number 129 realize some really good values, although I still think that that book is undervalued for the first appearance that it does have, and being again in the Bronze Age collectability. This book falls slab into the Bronze Age run. Amazing Spider-Man Bronze Age run books are especially collectible just on their own. This has a second appearance of a very major character in the Punisher. Marvel has said that they are not done with the Punisher. Kevin Feige has mentioned the Punisher. Apparently, there was a telephone call between John Burdenthal and Kevin Feige about the Punisher and about what was going on with the Netflix series that he was starring as the Punisher in. They've talked about continuing those Netflix series on other channels like Hulu, which are going to have more adult content for Disney. So that would bring Burtonthal back into the role of the Punisher. They've talked about possibilities of some larger screen stuff. We've seen more some kind of splitting the MCU now into street level and cosmic level kind of characters, right? We've got our street level guys like the Black Panther and Moon Knight and those kind of guys. And Punisher is going to fit in well with that group of guys. He's not going to be the cosmic guy unless later they want to make him the cosmic Ghost or Ghost Rider Punisher Frank Castle guy. But they would have to introduce him as the Punisher first. This book is prices are all over the place again. People have forgotten about this book. I've seen $1 starting auctions on eBay that end up selling this book for less than $10 lately. So it's a good time to go in and clip this book up, get his second appearance. This is the 182, the Hulk 182 of the Punisher set. Get that second appearance. Right, so mid-grade copies and buy it now prices seem to have come down below the $50 mark at auction. They're all selling for below $50 mark. You still get the crazy guys that want way too much for their books. Don't buy that book. Do your shopping. Get the book that you want to get. I've also seen this book, in super high grades still. It is still selling quite well and at a good price. But unslabbed, raw, high-grade copies have come way back in price. So I think as the second appearances go, this is a really great one to grab, especially right now as the prices come down. And the Punisher will yet come back to the MCU in some form or another. I totally have faith the Punisher is just way too popular a character, and they can make his movie for much less budget than they have to spend on a big cosmic scale movie, right? The street level guys. He would fit in well with Blade and all kinds of other characters. Ghost Rider would be good pair up with him. Anyway, this book, like I said, can be found for cheap right now. Grabbing the second appearance because his first appearance is so expensive. I still think that has a lot of value to still realize the first appearance in number 129, but this book is going to follow behind it. So that's my pick from 1974. Amazing Spider-Man number 135. Look to pay somewhere around $30 to $50 for a decent mid-grade copy of this book off of eBay. All right, so let's go to pick number 5, which will let it in, and I'll change costumes again. For cheap, I actually got a slab of this one. How crazy is that? I don't generally collect slabs, but I did find this one for such a cheap price that I grabbed it up. And it is 2001, A Space Odyssey number 8, and that's from 1977. So I've had a few people recommend this one as one of my picks for my videos. I know my friend Roger Metarog, he recommended it. A couple guys on Instagram have recommended it. People in my comments have mentioned it. Not sure of everybody's name, but I was looking at it, and then I started really started to think about this book for a second, and this character in particular. I mean, one, you get this, as a book, you get this great Jack Kirby cover, right? That's Jack Kirby doing that one. He's a Jack Kirby character. We all know that Marvel, Disney loves Jack Kirby. Anything Jack Kirby, Jim Starlin right now is so hot for Marvel, DC, whatever. There's billions of dollars behind Jack Kirby creations. So Jack Kirby, that's great. We know that they love his stuff. And then I started to really kind of think about it, and I'm like, they're gonna start looking to replace Paul Bettany as the Vision here soon, like really soon. He's been in 8 Marvel movies now, and now he also has a 6-episode streaming service coming up, which are each hour-long episodes. So it's another 3 hours for Paul Bettany playing this character. I'm not sure what his contract limit is, or if he even has a contract with Marvel, or what they're doing. But like I said, he's been in there since the very beginning, since Iron Man 1 in 2008. He was a character, right? He was originally Jarvis, then turned into the Vision. So what kind of characters, like, we know Paul can't last forever, and it seems to me like he's been in this position for a while, and he might just end up saying, enough. I've been in the Vision and Jarvis and 8 movies and all this other stuff. Enough for me. I need to move on as an actor. Who are they going to replace them with? They guys are formulaic. If you take a character out, they're going to want to replace it with a very similar character, right? Iron Man goes out, War Machine comes in. Captain America goes out, Falcon with the shield comes in, right? Very similar style characters to replace these guys. So with the Vision, I was thinking Machine Man would be a definite up there on one of those characters that could end up replacing the Vision in the MCU and becoming a major character, right? So I'm taking this recommendation. I found this one, like I said, it's slabbed. It's only 9.0, but that's 9.0 is still very fine near mint, very fine plus near mint. And paid for this, everything in, $60. I can't even get it slabbed for that kind of price, right? Auction that just nobody is paying attention to it. And again, prices for this book are all over the place. 9.8 of this book are actually starting to hit some pretty good numbers. 500, in that $500 range for a 9.8 slab. But the rest of those books, I've seen it, everything, $20, $50, $90, $150 for this one, all the way up to this 9.8 is $500 and it sells, right? So it's starting to go. We all know we start to see the very top tier books really starting to stack on their price, that the rest of those books are going to follow, right? Tim the Collector, high waters make all ships rise, as it were. So we're seeing that trend starting quite vigorously now against this book in the 9.8 range, going up around the $500 mark, whereas raw and even slab but lower graded books are going cheap still. Haven't picked up on the trend yet. So now is the time if you want to grab it. I mean, if this guy does turn out to be a Vision type character, I mean, if you think of what the Vision's first appearance did in 57, Avengers 57, the price of that book and how much it went up, this book could see a really good realization at the end. And if he never does show up in the MCU, if I'm completely out to lunch and wrong on this, you still got a great first appearance character for relatively cheap, right? And his first appearance was in this odd book, 2001: A Space Odyssey. So that's my speculation. Trying to think of, like I said, we're always trying to think of those books that are way under the radar before there's a rumor or anything like that. And I think that, a replacement for Vision could definitely happen with this character. I think Paul Bettany's coming to the end of his MCU career, and what wouldn't surprise me to see in the next year or two where he's left the MCU, and they're trying to find a character to replace him. Anyways, Machine Man. It is 2001: A Space Odyssey number 8, the first appearance of Machine Man. Look in the raw You can find raw copies. I've even seen them go near mint on auctions way less than they should have, for around the $30-40 mark. You can buy mid-grade copies of this for $20, and there's all kinds of prices all over there. Don't go too nuts. Don't overpay for this. Don't FOMO. Don't think you're going to miss out. You got time to buy this book still, so do your shopping. Find a price that you're willing to pay for a book that you want. Okay, do it. So, 1977, 2001, A Space Odyssey #8. All right, first appearance of Machine Man. So that's the end of our picks today. Thank you so much for tuning in, listening to me ramble on for the last 20 minutes or so for our video. Yeah, happy hunting out there, guys. Lots of comics every day. That reminds me, Wednesdays might be new comic book day, but every day is old comic book day. All right, this is Dave, Mr. Miracle Comics, signing out. See you next video.